Is that like the inverse of I wish someone would swaddle me? I wish someone would smack me on my ass and make me get right, you know? The duality of man. We want to be swaddled, but we also want our nose held to the grindstone. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Into the Pit. We're the officially unofficial podcast for everything that happens on HBO's The Pit. I'm your host, Aaron, and joining me because Jim is on assignment. He's taken a 3-month leave of absence to go and bash your brains out, Buffalo, Canada. We've got Chris. Chris, welcome to the Bald Move Network. You can say hi. I'm sorry. I was about to go into the...
Sorry, I was waiting for something else. But hello. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. We're all mutuals of Pete Peppers, and we got pulled on to an online discussion of Pluribus earlier this year. And I made a note of like the people that I got to meet in that. It's like, oh, I should tap them for some co-host opportunities. And we needed something for a big heavy hitter for the Pit finale. And here you are. I imagine a lot of Bald Move people might not be familiar with you, so maybe tell them about yourself, where they can find you, what you're covering.
Yeah, so you can find me on TikTok. I am Chris Cinema. That's CRIS Cinema. And over there, I was doing weekly Pit recaps. So about 5 minutes long, shorter form because it's TikTok. But yeah, I had a pretty good repertoire going with the Pit Talk community on there throughout these 15 weeks. We met doing Pluribus, so I have a whole playlist of like old Pluribus recaps. But yeah, I'm planning to probably talk about like Euphoria and like Margot's Got Money, Trouble's next. Those are shows I've been tapped into. So yeah, you can follow me over there for film and TV content. I do like recommendations and, just other analysis as well.
I wanted to kind of like break the Pit ice here a little bit since, you're joining late in the season. You're pinch hitting for a homer here. I was wondering how medically squeamish are you? Because Jim, or the guy you're stepping into, is super squeamish. I'm kind of middle of the road squeamish. How squeamish are we talking?
You know what's funny is that I have not really watched a ton of medical shows. I've only watched ER, and
Same.
I thought I was. Yep. I thought I was more medically squeamish than I was. And then I was watching the show, and people always talk about how they can't eat and stuff, and I'm just chowing down my dinner. I'm pretty fine watching it. I think the only thing that got to me was the woman who lost her leg on the water slide. I think just seeing Ogilvy like holding a disembodied leg on the side, that got to me. That like made me squeamish. But honestly, I've been okay with the blood. I'm actually surprised with myself.
Yeah, you might be more hardcore than me, because like I guess I never get like if it's just a meat, like if someone's unconscious and they're just open heart surgerying somebody, that never bothers me. But like it's always the stakes, it's like it didn't bother me that they were doing the emergency hysterotomy or whatever to save this poor woman's life. It bothered me because she is about to be a mother. I don't want her child. It's like I get gripped up like that, but like it's because of the stakes,
the stakes of the family is nearby and they're crying and
and the doctors,
you know what they're missing
because all that pressure they obviously feel to go in there and do something. It's okay. We got a nice spectrum of squeamishness here. The other thing is we got to know who's your favorite character from the Pit.
You know what? I'm going to be controversial and I am going to say Santos. I do enjoy her character. She's like very funny to me. I think I like the kind of, I like the sarcastic kind of characters that, seem like they're maybe mean on the surface, but then they're kind of a softie underneath it all,
I'm still waiting for the softness. I guess maybe you got a little bit there with Mel. I
think with Garcia a bit too. Like you could kind of tell she was the one that wanted more from the relationship, and then Garcia was, she felt like she was only using her to hook up, basically. And I think just through those small interactions, you can kind of see how she's like longing for something a little more.
Yeah, I was prepared to make fun of you if you said Robbie, because like obviously everybody says Robbie and she's probably the best character. But like I was not expecting Santos because this year I was getting so annoyed with her at the beginning of the season that I decided to lean into radical acceptance and love of her character, where it's like, it's like I was just like, okay, that seems crazy what you're doing, but I love you, Santos. I'm here for you, Santos. I want to support you, and I'm glad I did because it turns out she's a interesting character. She's got a couple of problems of her own, and there's I guess a nice sunny side. This is about the best ending you could hope for if you're a Santos fan, I suppose.
Yeah, I think too, like, I don't really agree with everything she does, but I just find her fascinating. Like, I just think there's a really, I don't know, they play with a lot of different, like, dichotomies with her. Like I said, I do think she's kind of funny if you can get on her level. And I definitely think there's a lot more to explore with her. Maybe we'll talk about that later when we get to the full season, because I do think there was a lot introduced and she had really good material, but then I feel like it kind of sputtered out at the end. Like, she didn't really have much of a focus in the last stretch of episodes. But she still had good material in the season.
Very, very sleepy in the back half of the season.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about this season because the first season was universally beloved, and I noticed that it seems like the critics are still loving this show, and the majority of the fan base is too. But I am starting to get a little bit of like, the show might have lost a little bit of its fastball. Have you gotten with your ear to the ground? Have you heard any of that discussion? And what did you think of this season? And then I guess this episode as a capstone to it.
Yeah. I mean, if you were on the Pitt Twitter, it's definitely gotten very negative in the past few weeks, but I think that is mostly spurned from the news that Supriya Ganesh was written off the show for season 3, and I think maybe people had some issues with the season, but then I think that was kind of the floodgates for people to really express their overall issues, and then I think that kind of aligns with the point of the season where these last few episodes really, really, really focused in on Robbie versus the ensemble, and then even a lot of the ensemble, when they were highlighted, like obviously Abbott and Langdon had some good material in the last few episodes, but a lot of their plot lines are still pretty tied up in moving Robbie's along a bit.
Right.
And I think that's definitely now been the main critique of the season, is that the first season was largely celebrated because they were able to balance this large ensemble cast of like 10 series regulars and give them good character arcs over the course of the season. And they're like, that's really hard to write and do well.
Especially with this format. Can we acknowledge that this format, this day in the life, is a very intriguing format, but it's got to be the devil to tell some kind of serialized story.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine trying to break this down in the writer's room and trying to just figure out like what are realistic arcs we can try to give everyone. That's, you can't give everyone an arc that's at like 100, right? Like, I think honestly, Ogilvy probably changed the most throughout the day, if you kind of think about where he started versus where he ended. But not everyone can go through such a transformative experience. So you have to kind of find the balance. But I think season 2 was a little less successful with that. Like I said, I think the last few episodes were very like Robbie, Langdon, Al-Hashimi in the last episode focused. But then, a lot of people where I thought their plot lines were going somewhere a little bit more, like Santos, we didn't really get resolutions or callbacks to certain things, like, the reveal of her self-harm scars. You kind of thought that would just come up in some sense, like whether she decides to make a call and go to therapy at the end of the season, or she confesses something to someone, or like we saw her take those scalpels and nothing came from that. And of course that can come in a third season, but for this type of a show, I think like if you're introducing something earlier on in the season, you expect some sort of acknowledgement or payoff later. And I mean, I don't think Mohan had a really great ending, frankly. Like it just, she kind of left her in limbo.
Yeah, her entire, that's the thing, I guess, with the Robbie stuff is like, not only did his character development come at the expense of some of the other characters, but it literally came at the expense of some of the characters. Like Robbie being a dick to Mohan was like almost a diagnostic thing that we used as a as an audience to be like, ooh, there's something. Robbie's not in his right mind. You know, he wouldn't use this kind of teaching style if he wasn't, you know, just grabbing her by the scruff and shaking him around. So, yeah, like she got really shit on. You know, like I remember there's like this three punch sequence where it's like Robbie bitched her out and said, you're this, that, and you didn't pay attention and you let your mom do this. And then there was the time where she lost his patient and they're walking out and he was going and he asked her something and she thought she was going to ask after her. And he just asked after Dr. Al. And then the last episode, when he finally did give her a little, it was like a little too late, too little. And then I just found out like last week that she's not even coming back, which is another challenge. I think the show is going to, because like, I think we're gonna have to get used to people just leaving and we don't know. Like Dr. Collins was the bellwether on this, that people are going to finish their residencies. People are going to get out of their year 4s and pick a different specialty. And they've been gone for months. Why would anyone talk about them? You know?
Yeah.
I think we only got Collins acknowledged because Langdon was like us, had not been around for 10 months. So that's going to be tough.
I gotta say too, I mean, that's been another line of discourse is these Scott Gemmell interviews that came out yesterday, where honestly, he was kind of contradicting himself a bit when it comes to why Mohan would be leaving, because, you know, he kind of gave the standard stock answer of like, this is a training hospital, people are moving in and out. Sure. And I think it's good to like establish that, you know, characters can come and go early on and, you know, kind of just show the uncertainty that these physicians face. And then this interviewer asked a follow-up question, which, to backtrack. He also mentioned that the next season is only going to be a 4-month time jump for the sole purpose of keeping more of these characters around. So then the follow-up question was, well, wouldn't the 4-month jump keep Mohan there? She would still be in her 4th year of residency. So all of this talk about fellowships and is she going to take the attending job, that's like a year from now, right? They just start doing these things really early, but that would not apply to a 3rd season. And then he was like, yeah, I just don't think she'll be working that day. So she's not going to be on the show because she's not going to be working that day, but you are also trying to make a point about the uncertainty of physicians and where they clearly don't know.
Are they trying to hold her for another season? Like, why is she not coming back? Were she just wrote her out of the show, or was there a scheduling snafu, or
she doesn't have a project lined up? And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's just like those two things in the same interview, I think almost contradict each other, but it just seems like they decided to write her off. Maybe they just were bored of the character or something.
I don't know. I've never heard of anything mess. This is the first kind of like messy behind the scenes thing I've heard. And sometimes, you know, you hear about messy behind the scenes stuff. I remember the season 2 of like Severance was like everybody's a buzz about it, how much the creators hated each other and there's all this friction. And my God, it's just Adam Scott running around hallways for hours, and that turned out to be okay. But then I remember also hearing some behind the scenes like rumbles like in I think between season 2 and 3 of like Yellow Jackets, which was a show that I really liked. It's kind of fallen off, and that kind of did go sideways. So I hope it's fine. So we talked about the general, like kind of the public. What did you think of the season and this finale as a whole?
Yeah, I liked it. I don't think I was like blown away. I wasn't like, oh, this is my favorite show that's been on this year, or think it was as good as season 1. But each week, you know, I think especially when you do things like us and you're doing like a deep dive into the episodes, I really enjoyed watching the episodes, diving in, talking about it every single week. So I overall thought it was good. I think it's really hard to tell if, like, again, some of the outside news is souring me a little bit. You know, I think it's hard to get that out of your head. But I do think it just happened to coincide with where the end of the season got extremely Robbie focused to a degree where I was like, damn, we're really like dropping a lot of these plot lines and just things that I thought we were going to have resolution on. Like, again, I don't want to keep harping on like the self-harm scars, but that's like one example. But like, you know, we had Mohan asking for like a letter of recommendation from Abbott, and it's fine if you don't address everything in a single season. Like, things can always come back in other seasons, but I just feel like when you have very clean, sharp writing, you're not kind of introducing these threads that just don't get addressed. It just starts to make this season feel a little messy and not like as sharp, versus like, you know, I'm watching a show like Hacks right now, and like, I know that's a comedy, but it is so sharp. Like, they have so many callbacks. Every single detail they introduce is like followed up later. There's not these hanging details. And I mean, totally different types of shows, but I think when I'm kind of watching them side by side, I'm like, wow, that's a show that like planned every single detail versus kind of throwing some threads at the wall, and then some got some resolution and then others didn't. And obviously if a character's not going to be there next season, then we're just not going to follow it.
I think that's fair. I mean, the show got a lot of praise for its unique format and you know, kind of in the moment 24-hour aspect of the show. But, you know, it's fair to criticize when that format leads to problems, and maybe this writing was a little loosey-goosey because they are trying to, I do admire the fact that they're trying to keep an annual schedule. But I did not. I got into season 1 late. It was one of the ones that you know, it's like I heard it's coming out, and but I'm like, shoot, man, I watched 12 seasons of ER. I think I'm all good with Noah Wyle slinging scalpels. And then people are like, no, you don't get it. This is like the best show ever. And over Christmas break, I watched it in like one binge. So essentially 2 weeks before it came back, I got fully on board. And for me, I felt, and maybe, like I said, I can only speak from my own experience, but I thought season 2 was much more of a piece of season 1 than a lot of people are thinking, other than season 1 was kind of like, aren't doctors and nurses just like demigods? And aren't they heroic? And they're almost like action, you know, like they'll have some trauma, but they can just go into the peds, and Whitaker can say, look, pal, we need you to put on the pants and drive the horses. And I don't know where I'm going with that. But, and this season's more about like, actually, these are just people, and they're not particularly well paid or treated. And a lot of the things in the system seem to punish the things that we value about doctors, and has a real cost. And so it's like, it's more of a bummer message than, you know, maybe last year, but it's also, I don't know, it's like there's a lot of people out there that are just like white knuckling life. And maybe we all don't have his job as stressful as Robbie, but, you know, and the fact that as someone as smart and as medically plugged in as Robbie still cannot take his own advice about taking the mental health seriously and taking, and they all seem to have a problem with it. I really liked it, and focusing a little bit on Robbie. What I think is, I think it was a mistake for this shift to keep going on for 3 or 4 hours after it was over, because all the residents and year 4s are just there doing paperwork, literally, and try not to fall asleep. Yeah. So it's like, what else are you going to do than sit around and watch Robbie, Dana, Langdon, and Abbott torture each other for 3 hours? Whereas last year you had the Pitt shooting where it's like it's accelerating towards the finish. This is the big crisis has happened, and now you're just kind of cleaning up the paperwork from it. So I feel like there's a little natural kind of pacing letdown, and I wonder also, you know, if more people had the experience of just watching them almost as a unit, if it would have been different. But I really like this season, and I think I learned a lot about the healthcare industry. I learned a lot about the importance of your mental health and addiction, and just like I just love how like every episode there's a new little wrinkle in like the affordability of insurance and the problems with maybe mass deporting people and showing it, and just it's like a show not tell like look at all this chaos that's happening and what could we do better. You know, these are our first responders are heroes, right? Do we treat them that way? Yeah, no, I do want to hop in and say that, you know, as much as I've been criticizing them for maybe focusing too much on Robbie towards the end, I really did appreciate that storyline and just their portrayal of depression. I thought it felt really true to life, and I think sometimes people
people don't really understand the anger part of depression and the way that like manifests out. And so, you know, people are getting so annoyed with Robbie this season for, you know, being terrible to everyone and yelling at them. But I just felt like that is like a real accurate portrayal of how like depression can come out, where you get more like frustrated and things come out in an angry way. And I think that's harder for people to empathize with. But I also think that's like the reality. And that's why people need like a good support system like Dana, where I think when she's kind of, you know, kind of almost like yelling at him to get it together, it's from this place of like, you know, like I haven't given up on you. Like, you know, I can kind of, I see what you're going through. And then obviously we had that with like Abbott and Langdon and his motorcycle friend Duke, right? So yeah, I mean, I do think that was a strong plot line, and there was many points where I felt like very, very moved. I just think, like you said, I think there was maybe a little bit of stretch in the last few episodes where, you know, they started to have a lot of conversations that felt similar, and I think it had the most impact when, you know, you just saw like a look or things were a little quieter or unsaid, or even just the first time when he says like, I don't know if I want to be here, and like that's all he can kind of get out before he walks away, and you're like that hit me in the gut. Like that was a really great moment. So I
do think I agree that in the last 3 hours, it felt like there's about 2 hours worth of stuff. And it's fine to like take your time and pay and do it, but like maybe we could have gotten a little bit more resolution on some of these other things we're talking about. But I'm curious to see going forward. Maybe we can talk a little bit at the end, like where it's like I heard it was a 3-month time jump, but I did heard it was shorter, and I kind of figured it probably wouldn't be like literally every year, because how the hell could you ever tell a story when it's like running into your best friend at the airport, hey, we should get together for lunch sometime, and then you see him next year, hey, we should get and you just never can have anything more than a surface interaction with them. But
yeah. Maybe that's why they want to be cycling in characters more often, is because maybe they're kind of anticipating that the format can get stale because you can't get as much movement on each character with just one shift. So if you like introduce new people, then it's like, oh, hey, here's like a new story I can get invested in. So that might be a bit of like why they want to establish like the rotating door early, potentially, you know. And also, like you said, it's a thing where it's so great that there's 15 episodes, right? Because every other show on now has like 10 or less.
If you're lucky, yeah. But then most shifts in reality are not 15 hours. So now, like, if you're not going to do a big event towards the end, are we always going to end up with them charting for a few hours? I think
it's a hard format, right?
I like, again, that's the other thing is like, I know that if I was the showrunner and I was writing high off season 1, the first thing I'd be is like, we can't do a bigger, better Pitt shooter. We cannot every year have a bigger, because like by the 4th season, like some nuclear bomb will go off in downtown. It's the only way we can up ourselves. So I appreciate that, but also the fact that we are just particularly pointing to one shift. There's no excuse not to have it be the most interesting shift, right? Like you know, like in a given quarter of a hospital, it has to be the hairiest day they have. Like, why not? But it's the difference between like, yes, there's a lot of because that's also when the system grinds and when the friction is more easy to see, you know. But they can't just have the last 3 hours. Oh, I think it'd be cool to like maybe go and see. It'd been neat to see McKay go on the date she was thinking about going on earlier this season, or like maybe we could follow these people in their personal lives, or maybe we can see, I don't know, Whittaker getting ready with the farmer's widow for 15 minutes before he drives in with the dually pickup or whatever. There's other things they could do other than having Santos fall asleep during her paperwork as the shift transitions, but. We should probably get in this episode. Oh no, go ahead and we'll get into the detailed discussion here in a minute.
Yeah, let's get in. No, I was gonna say I do love all the little moments we do get outside of the hospital. It almost feels like seeing your teacher at the grocery store or something. You're like, oh, this feels this feels wrong, but I kind of love it, and you never know.
especially when Mel, like when Santos ripped out her ponytail and she started thrash. It's like this. No, that's not our Dr. King. Okay, well, let's get into the episode. We're going to be breaking down episode season 2, episode 15. This is the events from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's the 5th hour of the ordeal these folks have gone through at the pit. We're going to talk about Dr. Al-Hashimi first, and she's mostly been under Dr. Drama, but she presents herself essentially as a patient this episode. We saw the beginning of it last episode. What did you think about, I guess, the way the people have been speculating all, like, what is the deal? Is she having a trauma response? Is she having some kind of seizure? Is she, how did you feel about the resolution of that?
I mean, I just loved Sepideh Mowafi just getting this like acting masterclass that she got to do for us. Like, I thought she was excellent. So it was just kind of nice to like see her as an actress get to actually flex her muscles. But yeah, in terms of the character, I think it kind of fits with all of the clues. I think pretty early on, people were saying it seemed like absence seizures when she would zone out for a second. So I liked the confrontations between her and Robbie, because I think you've seen her be capable all day. So you do feel on her side, or at least I did, because you're like, oh, that's so unfair. She's a great doctor. But then I think Robbie obviously has a point, right? This is they're dealing with the situations where there could be critical points where you really can't zone out even for like 5 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And
you got your hands up in someone's chest cavity, massaging their heart, and you pass out for 5 seconds. I don't know what happens. It's not good.
Yeah. But I just loved like the confrontation, because she's able to kind of call out maybe the hypocrisy with him not reporting Langdon, but threatening to report her, and kind of how she feels that's a bit of an injustice, or just the way she's calling out his language, that it's, his ER and it's my patients. And she's like, it's not all about you. Like, this is not your
fucking
place.
Fucking A right it is. Yeah, he's...
You're not signing our checks, right? Like, you can get fired just like any of us.
One of my favorite things is in fiction is seeing like two passive aggressive avoidant characters like suddenly go guns blazing, hot war. I like them going in and she's just, I don't know if I've heard her swear this entire season, and she's like, you're a fuck. It felt cathartic, because all this year we've seen these people poke at each other, and Robbie's been, and let me ask you this, because there's two ways to look at this. Dr. Al-Hashimi went to Robbie because she wanted an honest opinion about her ability to safely work on patients, and she knew and respected him enough that he would deliver it. Or she just found out that he colored over the lines a little bit, found a way to get Langdon the help he needed, but also shielded him from the legal consequences of his actions. And she was hoping that, oh, you know what, Robbie might let me skate. Which of those, or obviously there's not two possibilities, but which of those do you shade a little bit closer to?
I definitely thought the second option. I think that's why she brought him up. And I think that's why it comes at that point in the day after she's seen what he did for Langdon. So I think there was a little bit of maybe a breach of trust. She kind of felt like he was someone who could be on her side, or at least sort of offer other suggestions and support. Like, hey, my neurologist says as long as there's another attending on call. Maybe she thought he'd have other like suggestions or things she could do to practice safely. I don't think she was expecting the pushback that she got. And I think it is because of Langdon. I think that made her think he was a little more flexible than he actually is.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, is it wild to... I mean, I don't know if she knows. Obviously, she probably doesn't know about Robbie and Langdon, but like there's a... it seems like Langdon came in as a med student and he rose up and he's like their senior resident, and he's kind of like Robbie's, not just, little brother he's looking after. That's different than like a doctor who's kind of your foil that you've known for like one shift, and they come in there and be like, hey, risk your career for me. But it is like, I thought it's interesting that Dr. Robbie, you talked about a little bit of his hypocrisy or his double standards. he made it like this is a one to this is yeah. She's well, you covered for Langdon. He's like, nah, I'm doing exactly the thing. I kicked him out of here until he got the help. But he didn't also demand that Langdon inform management that he had been stealing drugs from the ER, because that would almost certainly be criminal charges and the end of his medical career. So like, is it because that Dr. Al-Hashimi is not in danger of losing her license if she says, hey, I got seizures, and if she can get him fixed, she can come right back? Whereas Langdon, if he even disclosed, oh, actually, I was stealing medicine for patients. Where are you at with the hypocrisy / moral discrepancy level here?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in both cases, him sort of doing the threatening to report is what he thinks is gonna make them do the actions he wants, right? Like, he didn't have to report Langdon because he just wanted to, like, maybe report him to get him to go to rehab, right? And I think the same thing with Al-Hashimi, he just wants her to, like, willingly give up her job, I guess. I mean, that's the thing. I don't know if she could just, like, quit for a little bit and then come back, or I guess she would have to just report to the board, because like you said, like, she wouldn't be in trouble. It would just be like, hey, like, at this current moment, I can't practice. But then, I mean, she can't, I don't know if she can maybe just go into, like, I don't know, like working as like a general physician, because then you're not working with critical cases. But I don't know. Are you like out of a job for 6 months?
I floated last year the idea, or not last episode, the idea that like maybe she was hoping, because this was something that she knew was coming. I didn't know if like it was a degenerative type of thing or whatever, and that, you know, they talked about her being really close to executives and her being more interested in some of the procedural stuff. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if this is going to be how Al-Hashimi gets into the Gloria position of the CEO or the executive. I know, like, she was just trying to, I hope I get enough. But like, I know it seems like she really wants to be a doctor. That's super important to her. But I mean, I don't know. Cause like, to me, if I don't, or I guess I care about the hypocrisy about Langdon and stuff. I think Robbie's making the right call with Al-Hashimi, because like, yeah, you can't drive. Like he said, it's like, well, if you were my patient, I would have to, it'd be mandatory after report. She's, I'm not your fucking patient. I'm sorry. Did you not bring your chart in here and have me, the senior attending, look at it for a second? And what are you if not my patient? It's really sticky. And also, yeah, the absence seizures, like it's the car stuff. I'm more worried about her driving to work than her, you know, going cross-eyed while she's got her hands up in someone's chest. But it's still, I guess, a valid concern. Like, and if Langdon wasn't last season, we wouldn't even be talking about the hypocrisy of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more so the language he uses and just the nature of the confrontation, probably more so than the actual action and intent behind it, right? Like, because I think if you were having a very calm conversation with someone and you were actually friends, you might just get them to come to that conclusion through a much more calm, compassionate conversation. So I really think the issue is just more how that escalated. And obviously you just understand why it's happening in the moment. Robbie's in a terrible spot, as we've seen all season, and again,
trying
they're not
to get out
friends,
of here.
so of course she's gonna have more of a defensive reaction. You know, I think there's a question as to like why she trusted him so much. I mean, like we said, I guess it was just the Langdon thing. So I guess it makes sense, but I'm like,
I think they're being pretty straight that a person with her condition that's in with seizures that are untreated, I do think that's incompatible with being like an attending. You know, like a your neuro doctor might be like, oh yeah, the medicine and stuff you might be, and Robbie might even be like, well, in 6 months if this all stuff works. But the other thing I want to talk about is, did you get, you know, every once in a while you'll see like there's like a story of like a professional athlete who was really good, and then they get an injury and they try to get a surgery to fix it, and it doesn't, and they keep on doing like riskier and riskier things because they want to get back to that level. Do you think they're telling a story? Because like when she said, oh, I had my temporal lobes laser ablated, I'm like, holy shit, that's crazy. And then she's like, well, I can up my medicine, or I can get I can get a, what do they call that when they put the ice fork through your lobotomy. I get my frontal, my temporal lobes lobotomized, but it might fuck up my and I'm like, and I was looking into that surgery and I'm like, are they telling a story of a woman who is trying to hold on to the medical career because it's so important past all sense? Like, she is risking so much of her health and further happiness to get this career. And also, would Robbie do anything different in her position? But I was trying to think of, like, are they trying to tell me that maybe she shouldn't be doing this job and it's bad for her?
Oh, I don't know if I got that exactly, but I do think that's a really interesting angle. And I kind of would love if they leaned into that in future seasons, because I think that's a really interesting idea in her being
it's the literal side of the coin of Robbie saying this job is killing me. You know, like it's metaphorically killing him. It could be literally killing her. And she even said the stress of this day, the being confronted with traumatic peds cases. Like, these are all things that might have made it harder on me. So
yeah, I mean, I like that idea. I'm not sure if they'd be going exactly down that route, only because her stopping that car was like her acknowledgement that he's right. I need to go take my 6 months. So
did you get that, like, it was like the pedestrians around her car that she's like started driving, she saw those people and it was the back camera and she's just like, Jesus, what if I had an absence seizure when I was backing out? I felt very strong in it. She was having that realization that, like, oh, Robbie, he's an asshole, but he's right.
Yeah, that's what I got too. I think his words are ringing around in her head, right? I think you can't have someone say that to you and then not immediately think about it the second you sit in the car, where he's like, you shouldn't have your license. And yeah, I mean, it's just a heartbreaking situation, right? Like, you know, I think we want to see her practice. We want to see her in a next season. We've seen her kind of have I mean, I kind of always liked her. I think they kind of came in with I don't want to say they were rage baiting the audience, but I could kind of tell from the first episode, you know, she doesn't want to call the pit, and I was like, I know what they're doing. They want the audience to get mad at her, and then she's going to have a traumatic background that's revealed, and I was exactly right. So, you know, the audience has kind of come... Exactly. You know, so the audience comes around to her over the course of the season, and then it kind of just ends in this sort of heartbreaking place. So I don't know what they're going to have planned for her, right? And yeah, because I don't know if they're just going to be like, hey, she's still out wanting to be seizure free for 6 months.
It seems like if we see her, it's going to be part of her, like, just checking, maybe having lunch with somebody there that she's checking in with, or it'd be interesting because, like, we haven't seen any Gloria since season 1. It would be cool, like, if maybe we could catch up with that in that kind of way, because 3 months or 4 months or however long it is. Speaking of audience baiting, I thought for sure they were setting it up for Robbie to come up to her window while she's having a breakdown and have a further conversation, because he was looking for her, and she sat there and she parked and they did this thing where it's like her head was in the left of the frame and the window was framing this big blank spot, and I'm like, oh, they're ready for Noah Wyle to come in there and lean in and knock on the window and be like, hey, I've been thinking, but no, they just had her stew in her glass case of emotion there. So yeah, because I think he needed the extra conversations to sort of have his emotional breakthrough that kind of came afterwards. So I don't know if he was in the emotional spot to, you know, actually go and make amends. All right, let me know if you got anything else to say on that topic, but I'm going to otherwise move on to our next patient, kind of the star turn of the evening, Judith Lestrade. Lestrade? She is a 36-year-old pregnant woman. She has been suffering headaches for 2 days. She comes in with a self-described 10 out of 10 headache with blurred vision. And oh boy, it doesn't take Robbie long to feel up her ankles and be like, this woman is preeclamptic. It was a truly wild pregnancy. I will say that woman got what she wanted from just a semantic level.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with this patient, they're really showing kind of all the issues with this, anti-intellectualism. you know, anti-vax, like all these issues where people are very skeptical towards the healthcare system. And now we get a lot more patients like this where they're putting their own lives at risk over these really outdated ideas. So, you know, I like that they kind of lean into that again with this patient and really show the very drastic consequences that can occur.
I mean, and I like it. There's some people saying like, oh, I don't know if we needed to see how brutal surgery was and all, but I don't know. I feel like this show is intentionally being kind of mean to the people who, like last season, the girl who, the woman, the mom that didn't want her son to get a spinal tap. And I don't know if people clocked this, but she is suing currently Dr. Mel King and Dr. Ellis for putting the spinal tap in because her son did get neurological problems from having an untreated bout of meningitis. And you know, they're telling us through Dr. Al-Hashimi that, yeah, childhood meningitis can be a real fucking bummer, even if it's successfully treated and caught early and given. So it's like, I feel like, yeah, they are being brutal to like, hey, oh, you heard that you don't need doctors because we've been having babies for thousands of years. Right. But guess what? A third of the kids and mothers died, genius. So it's like, you can't, like, I don't know what else you can do other than show the very real possibilities that can happen if we start not caring about vaccinations and medical expertise.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something the show has done really well all throughout season 1 and 2, I think, drawing attention to all of these issues.
And it's like that the frustration of the doctors, because like they have now been brought a 10 out of 10 difficulty birth that didn't need to be this way. And it's like one of those things where they're put under this enormous pressure, and you know they would feel terrible if the mother and child died, which was a very possible thing to happen. But yet it's not like it'd be one thing, I guess, if the mom did everything and she's like, you know, open, but like when she comes in, it's like, I have not even seen a doctor. I'm not taking any prenatal vitamins. I don't need any of that shit. I don't. And now it's like, I'm just trying to think of all of those things that pull them apart. You know, the fact that they're trying to save these people, they care, they're empathetic, but also sometimes these people are ignorant assholes. And the fact that this woman almost went to her grave protesting getting medical treatment, like up until they paralyzed her, up until she had a seizure, she was essentially saying, no, absolutely not. Nothing, cesareans, no fucking. I guess it's supposed to be frustrating.
Yeah. And I like that angle you just took, because Robbie had that line about how every single death he witnesses chips away at part of his soul. Right. And so I like that perspective, because it's like, they're almost putting that burden onto these healthcare workers. Like that's another death they have to deal with that really, you know, isn't their fault. Like if they hadn't been able to save her, I would not put that on them at all. They were in a very, and I'm sure, but the family probably would, right? Even though it's like really not their fault. Like she came in with this pregnancy that probably could have been okay had she done all the things you're supposed to do and taking care of herself during this time. So
you know, the way you just said that, I thought you're going with like the way they framed it, you know, that they're kind of blaming us, the audience. Like, look what you people do. Look, you're not being careful with Robbie's emotional health by not taking the best care of yourself before you go to, you know, right? Like, you know, he's going to blame himself for dying. Don't make his job harder than it has to be. Don't make him have 10% more souls that have to be ablated from his soul. Like, you know, and I thought it was also pointed, this is like peak Robbie frustration nihilism, when the woman is there and she's like, I didn't want any medical assistance. I didn't want, and he's like, well, then why are you here? And she's like, oh, I want you to make my headache go away. And he's like, but yeah, you know, and they did that with with the case that Mel is working on too, with the, what did that boy have again? Which one are we talking about? Are we talking about the one this season or last season?
Yeah, the one that Mel is doing the deposition for.
Oh yeah, that was
measles,
I think
right?
they suspected he had meningitis, but they weren't sure.
Meningitis, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, but I remember Robbie was like very, very harsh with that family as well for the same reasons. Like what do you expect me to do here? You don't want medical treatment. But you want me to make him better. And as a doctor, what are you going to do in that situation?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you got people fighting with the doctors, but they came to the doctors to be healed, and they're like, well, no, not that way. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where bodily autonomy, which is very important, and individual rights and freedoms end, and like the trauma we're inflicting on healthcare workers and how we pay for it all. And it's a big mess. I think we can do a lot better, but what the perfect solution is, I don't know. But I did get the feeling that like the doctors, they were helpless. Like they were essentially doing desperate last moment things. Like the how many doctors came in and be like, hey, we're dealing with this just crazy difficult birth. And they're like, what have you done? And like, we've done this, that, and the other. You got any idea? And everybody's like, I don't know. And like, or the one doctor, when they're trying to bring the kid back and like pick him up, and they're like, we're doing all we can. We just have to, what do you say? We need a tincture of time. We just need to wait and see if it works. Like there's only so much they could do. A lot of people had a problem with the way they did the cesarean. Did you do any looking into the actual procedure that they did?
I saw some people critiquing it. I can't say my medical knowledge is enough to I've really understood what exactly the issue was. It was something with like the amniotic fluid, or they thought, I'm not sure. What was your research?
Like, well, I mean, a lot of people are just like, because if you're familiar with, if you're familiar with, my son was born cesarean. I know some women are cesarean. The scar is like it goes horizontally. It's like it's above your pubic, below your belly button, right at your kind of underwear line, and it's usually about 4 or so inches long. And they pull the baby out of there. It's a crazy thing to witness. This was like from the tip of the sternum down to the pubic bone, just cut them vertically wide open, which is not standard of care, but it is standard of care for, I forget, what did Dr. Abbott, he says, this isn't a perimortal like vivisection of a womb. This is a emergency hysterotomy to resuscitate both patients. And I guess that's a standard of care. You want a big incision to get the baby out as quickly as can. And the placenta is the thing that causes it. Like if the placenta could just be removed from the woman without hurting the woman or the baby, I guess the eclampsia would stop. They got to get out as quick as possible, and also maybe do exploratory surgeries to find other complications. So just go ahead and flay the woman open, I guess, is the standard of practice for an emergency procedure like that. But it did like I think people thought maybe the doctors were being no, they were just trying to be fat. They had 4 minutes since that woman went in the rest to save them both, or they lose them both.
Yeah, so I think just like it was a wild pregnancy, it was a bit of a wild procedure where they just have to do things a little more sloppily than they otherwise would. So I feel like that must have been, I feel like they must know on a medical show like how to properly do a cesarean, right? So I feel like that has to have been intentional, like you said, of
they have
kind of showing this emergency different ways, because I feel like that's a common procedure that you would know how to show it correctly.
And sometimes I think they show like how non-sentimental they are at the body. Like another scene is like when they're trying to control her uterus from bleeding. Like they're like, get us all the lap pads you've got, like a very Ron Swanson-ish request. And they show them just like they're just packing her full. Like you're trying to stuff a bunch of grocery bags, one of those grocery bag holders. They're just like stuff. But like I sometimes think they're trying to show the public, because like last season I was inspired to go to a Stop the Bleed course and like up my first aid game. And this season I feel like they're like, no, seriously, when they say pack this wound tight, they're not talking about like just they're like showing like the public that's presumably maybe getting involved in some of the stuff, but I was just amazed at like, what the human body can take. They're just shoving Bounty paper towels inside her until she stops bleeding.
I wrote a note about that too. I was like, ew, they're just shoving pads in her open stomach like that. Like, oh my God.
Apparently the one thing the global war on terror was good for is really getting good at keeping people from bleeding out until a surgeon get a hold of them and save their life. And yeah, it turns out that tourniqueting, packing stuff full, like it's whatever you can do to keep that what is that word, the hemostatically stable. I think it's like where you're not gaining fluid or losing fluid, you're there, you're stable.
Yeah.
But I thought that at the end that like Robbie's face, it's a mixture of like joy and anguish, right? Like what did you get the what he's feeling at where he once again pulled a rabbit out of his hat with Abbott and saved both patients, no business doing either.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's satisfaction that they did save her life, and I do think this all relates a little bit to him like maybe choosing to stay. We don't really know if he goes on the sabbatical or not, but I think that kind of contributes to him feeling like needed. And like Abbott says, like, what would have happened if you weren't here? We like really needed you for that. So I think there's kind of a sense of purpose of him being at the ER. But yeah, of course he's angry. And I think he just kind of hates that they have to do that. And they have to go through those stressful situations that are a little needless in this scenario. So yeah, I think it kind of plays all of that on his face a bit.
It's so up and down too, like the exhilaration of winning and beating death, but then what if you lost? And I also think they're trying to tell us, because like when he closes a door, you can still hear Dr. Abbott saying, wow, you guys are rock stars and this, and they're being praised to the moon, but it's that dichotomy. It's like, well, certainly not paid like rock stars. Certainly don't have the societal respect. Nobody's throwing red carpets for us, the first day of the medical season. Yeah, it's more of that whiplash of the extreme swings of emotion, and how do you deal with it?
Yeah, and you can kind of tell that with Langdon too. Like he keeps harping on, what if I'd paralyze that patient that he worked on last week. So like everyone is patting him on the back for that, but he kind of keeps harping on how that was really tough for him. I don't know if he necessarily wanted to be put in the situation where he did. He was kind of forced into it by Robbie. So
first day back, yeah.
Yeah, so I find that really interesting. He keeps kind of getting praised for it, but he keeps saying thanks shyly, but sort of pushing it away. It's almost like he doesn't necessarily want to be praised for it because that was a tough moment for him.
What does it mean if you've been a doctor for 30 years and you've probably saved hundreds, if not thousands of people, and like the thousandth time someone says, man, you're a rock star, but you still don't got a wife, you still don't have a kid, you still don't got your pond, you're still spinning your wheels, you're driving around with your motorcycle out of your helmet. It's like, what does that even mean when someone says, yeah, you're a real rock star. Wow, you're an amazing dude, Dr. Robbie. Wow, you saved that person. Like, it's like, what does it mean? And because I always think about like a doctor's like, as a very minor podcaster, I can read 100 5-star iTunes reviews and they run off my back like water, and I get 1 star that just thinks we're a piece of shit, and that's the thing that sticks with me. And I feel like all that praise just rolls off his back, but when someone like his young friend that had his girlfriend shot, like blame, like that shit sticks with him. Like all the negative stuff sticks, none of the good stuff sticks.
Yeah, I think that's just human nature, and I think it's just put on this extra maximum level with healthcare workers like this. I think we always kind of focus in on the negative, and when it comes to him not having a family, I think just the mental state he's in is making it worse, because it's like, it's not like, oh, I just don't have a family, but I have a good job and I'm satisfied with life. It's like, oh, I'm burnt out, I'm suicidal and depressed, and I don't have a family. So now what was it all for? Like, I didn't do the things I wanted to do, and now I don't even have the satisfaction of my job because it's burning me out so much.
Right. And how do you get yourself in that situation? I want to move on to a couple other things, like Digby. This is brief. He's the homeless guy that had the maggoty arm and he got cleaned and all that stuff. He has got some cognitive strangeness going on upstairs. I think we knew that, but he decided that he needed to wheel out the Rasussa Annie that was been sitting in the wheelchair holding the American flag and give her a a brief spiel on the history of pyrotechnics. And he stole Whitaker's badge.
I know, people had so many theories as to like who stole the badge, and then it was just like a little silly cameo for the badge at the end.
Yeah, little caper that Digby pulled. Next, this is something because like this has been driving my co-partner, my podcast partner Jim crazy. Is the Baby Jane Doe? He's like, what the fuck is the deal with Baby Jane Doe? She's been here all shift. It's like we keep getting little updates, but they're not really updates. Baby Jane Doe might be the thing that saved Robbie at the end of this episode.
Yeah, have you seen the movie Sorry Baby that came out last year? Oh my god. Okay, so that movie, whatever, spoiler alert, but not really. But it basically ends with her literally having the same thing. Like she talks to this baby at the end, her friend's baby, and it like helps her move past this, assault that she'd experienced in her life. And I was like, oh
yeah.
They're doing Sorry Baby on the Pit. I'm not sure who wrote it first. But yeah, I think there's just something to like the innocence of babies. Like, you would never talk to them as harshly as you talk to yourself. So I think when you find that kinship of like, you were abandoned and I was abandoned in my youth, and just the same way I would never tell you that life isn't worth living. Like there's a lot to see. There's people to love. You know, this isn't going to define your life just because you're abandoned, then it kind of makes you look at yourself. Yeah. And I think that's kind of Robbie's breakthrough there. We hadn't seen Baby Jane Doe for a while.
He's gentle parenting his own inner child through the surrogate of Baby Jane Doe. Mm-hmm. I think this is appropriate to talk about later in the episode, because I also want to talk about, people are all Twitter abuzz, I should say. About what this means, and if Robbie is going to, do a kinship adoption. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I did want to touch on, because I don't know where else to put it, but Dana in the middle of this storyline just reams those detectives out that haven't been picking up the rape kits.
Yeah.
To just say that, like, I love it when a person gets so angry that they've won the argument, but they can't stop fighting. Like, the cop has all but told her, it's like, okay, lady, we get it. You're, like, we didn't even know about this stuff. And she gave it, and then they're like, okay, we're going to take care of this. And then as they're walking out the door, she's like, got one more for him. Was that so hard? It's like, damn, they're going to stop picking up the kits just for meanness sake if you keep this up, Dana.
Nah, they deserved that. They need a little kick to the back to keep this up and give it the importance it deserves.
Seems like she's always the one doing that. Like, I forget, was it late last year or something where, she's like, hey, you guys, it was about this very issue. When she was reading the riot act to someone who's on the phone, she's like, you expect us to put you at the front of the line every time one of you guys gets shot, and we do it because we're all in this together. And then you're pulling this shit, I thought it was a nice coda for the very affecting, the episode where they had several episodes where they had the poor woman who got assaulted.
Yeah, that was a highlight of this season. Like, I think that was one of the best things they've done. But you know what? I like it because I think, and I mean, we're talking about the finale here, but I mean, she had some really good Emmy-worthy kind of material earlier in the season. But you know what? I kind of like that. I feel like cops are always they're always glorified a lot of the times in these types of like procedural shows. So, I do appreciate them, being able to say like they mess up a lot, right? Like they're not always on top of it. And yeah, they're kind of not afraid to show that, things don't always work how they're supposed to work.
I think it's interesting how the doctors jump each other's asses when they screw up or they miss something they shouldn't have. And they're like, they're pretty snippy about it. So, take this shit seriously, man. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the non-medical drama, the doctor drama we've been considering all season long. We're going to start with Dr. Langdon. Starts off with a highly scrutinized piss test that no amount of charm and jokes is going to make any easier.
Yeah. No, it's, I think you just see how vulnerable it is. Like, the guy's not turning his head away. Like, I'm just gonna stare at you as you do this, and you got to do this every day, right? For a pretty long period of time.
Yeah. It's the doctor getting the treatment, because it's usually the doctors are gloving up and sticking things inside you and touching and looking at you, your bare ass hanging out of the gown and things. But now the shoe's on the other foot, and I do think I like Langdon. I think they're doing an interesting job at telling his story. I do think, and I don't know, I do think that maybe they're portraying him as being a little too, like, at 10 months into your recovery, I think you should be ready for people to, like, probably suspect that you're going to be a drug addict forever, and to, like, know that people are going to be kind of guarded and untrusted. Like, that's part of the thing that they prep you for in a 12-step program, is the fact that, like, yeah, you're doing better now, but you've hurt a lot of people, and that trust isn't going to be. And I feel like every time he's like, oh, I can't believe I get this bar of, like, I can't believe I have to do this. I don't think that's a great mental attitude to have when you're going through recovery, but he said a lot of right things in this episode, so I don't know. What's your call?
I didn't quite get that from him. I mean, I just think when you have to do the urine test, it just is uncomfortable, no matter who you are, what the purpose is really. So, and I think a lot of these things are easier said than done, right? Like, even if you've mentally prepped, it is still the first day back. It's hard to
this is true.
Wrap your head around it. But I think in this case, too, it's just kind of his first time doing this. So I think eventually by day 30, he'll just be like commonplace for him.
And I think it's good because, like, almost every fictional portrayal of, like, alcoholics or drug addicts or people that are going through these programs, it's like they're either don't get with the program and they're like Nick Cage leaving Las Vegas themselves, or they have the intervention, they admit they have a problem, they get in the treatment, and everything works smoothly. And I like that they're kind of hinting here, even with Langdon, when he says to Robbie at the end, like, I've been sober for 186 days. Mm-hmm. If you do the math on that, that's like 6 months and change. And I think people have actually done the math on it, and that tracks it down to, like, New Year's Eve. He had a relapse on New Year's Eve because he's been off work for 10 months and he's only been sober for 6. I think even that's a read between, you gotta, like, pay attention. But I think stuff like that, he's not, I guess they call them white chip wonders. The one that's like, they go into the step program, they get their 1 day sobriety thing, the white coin, and then they never have a relapse. That is so rare, but it's almost the only positive addiction recovery stories we see in fiction. And having Robbie being a little bit bumpier, and he had almost lost some things, and he hasn't gotten everything back yet. I think that's a good. It's good to show the real process. Yeah,
it's a good balance. And I think just how, some of the people there accepted him. Obviously there was issues with Santos, but I don't think it's unrealistic that she would still hold resentment towards him for what happened on her very first day.
It is shady for him not to disclose. Like, I get the Robbie bent some rules and stuff, but I do think it's weird to let everyone be laboring under impression that, you had a drug addiction problem. It had nothing to do with the hospital, nothing to do with your practice. So it'll be interesting next season to see. I doubt he's going to be kicked off the show or anything, but, like, I would like to see him, really commit 100% to this process. Yeah. He went up to check the necrotizing fasciitis lady, the one who lost her entire leg, it turns out. What do you think the point of that scene was?
Yeah, I found that one interesting because I thought maybe there'd be a conversation with that patient. I actually thought when this all happened that they were going to have Abbott go and talk to her, as someone who is also an amputee.
Right.
As kind of like a follow-up to, like, kind of why that happened. But yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it's just kind of showing Langdon's, like, thoughtfulness and kind of on his first day back, kind of taking more stock of, like, what he went through in his day. And I think just kind of showing the care he has for his patients in, like, wanting to follow up and taking the extra time to, like, go upstairs and check in on them. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious your take, because it was kind of representing for the audience some information that we already know.
Yeah, so. I was asking you because the one I think I could figure out is narratively, it's interesting that while he's taking a victory lap for this reducted spinal whatever dislocation, that he is visiting his first failure of the day, which was what he considers, which, you know, like, I don't know if he failed, but he missed it, and he was less than confident in dealing with like the follow-up. And, you know, I don't think he would have had the wherewithal to do the steel ultrasound that Robbie did, where he just sliced that woman's leg open in front of Garcia and shit. So it's like, I think it's interesting just that, like, and I don't know, that's the other guy. I don't know what story they're telling with him, because that's something I think is maybe, I think a lot of people see it as good, but maybe, again, scrutinizing over your mistakes and like completely gliding over your successes, I think is how Robbie got himself in this, or at least one of the reasons things that got Robbie in this situation. So I never can tell whether they're trying to tell a triumphant story with Robbie, or Langdon, or there's still more pain down this path.
Yeah, maybe it is a little bit of both. I mean, I like what you said, that is probably maybe his main failure of the day, though. I think with that case, sure, some of it's on him, because he did let her go originally, and, you know, everyone was like, there was really no way to know at that point, or at least that's what everyone else is saying, so if we kind of take their word for that. But, you know, but in terms of, like, you know, she could have had a below the knee one, which I've heard has like a better recovery time versus
a lot
above.
more prosthetic options.
Yeah, like, you know, that's not his fault. I mean, they just had to wait so long for someone from surgery to come down, and then, you know, luckily Robbie was able to stop it even further. But yeah, it was interesting because the person up there, I forget if she was like a nurse or an admin worker, she was like, "Oh, you had a good catch. Like, if it wasn't for you, she would have lost her life, not just her leg."
Which certainly reframes things, right? For Robbie, like, don't think this is something you failed. Think of this as like, wow, if it hadn't been for you guys down there, she might be dead.
Yeah, so I think that's maybe the takeaway a little bit, right, of the trying to reframe where you went wrong in the day, and how he kind of has to think about that for his own recovery, right? So he doesn't end up in Robbie's dark hole of sadness.
Did you notice the Easter egg? The cameraman kind of lingered over it, but as Robbie's going into the surgical recovery wing, there's that plaque. And it said it's dedicated to Richard Ladomade, who apparently it's a surgical care unit wing paid for by his family. Apparently that's the prop guy. Oh. He's the head prop guy. And again, the camera like focuses this on for just like a couple of frames and then keeps it moving, but they wanted you to notice it. I thought that was really cute.
Okay, yeah. I did not look that up, but I like that Easter egg. That's fun.
Langdon v. Robbie. It's funny because I thought, or the show made us think that Robbie was avoiding Langdon because he didn't want to hear Langdon's bullshit, right? About, I'm glad you know, he just wanted to. But they, again, reframe it almost as if Robbie didn't want to hear for his bullshit because he might have thought that he was vulnerable to this attack. That like, hey, I've started a process. It's a process. I've seen guys like you. The only difference between them and you is that they've gotten help and you haven't, and you're going to be in a work. I thought that was excellent and infuriating that Robbie just refused to give him the win, or like refused to. But I guess that's also like that's realistic. You know, usually in something like this, you need a bunch of people to tell you. That's the whole point of an intervention. Have enough people in your life that love you to be like, hey, this is fucked up. Like, that was this was a whole season long intervention. Instead of being in one room, they took each episode to say how concerned they are for him. But
yeah, I liked how that came out, that his resentment towards him is really because he's doing everything that he never did. And maybe there's also a level of frustration that he's the one that pushed Langdon to do this and get better, and yet he's not pushing himself to get better. So I think there's that how could I do that for him, but
is that like
not for myself?
The inverse of I wish someone would swaddle me. I wish someone would smack me on my ass and make me get right, you know. The duality of man. We want to be swaddled, but we also want our nose held to the grindstone so we can Yeah, and I liked that part too, that he's like, you know, your standards are so high for yourself that you're basically just giving up because you're not meeting these high standards, instead of saying I'm not perfect and I need help. Because I think it's
you're acknowledging an infallibility and a weakness in yourself if you admit that you need help. So I thought that was a perceptive observation on LinkedIn.
And all this dialogue, like I said, especially noticed this on subsequent watches, like it all fits together. And it's such a great point that Langdon made here. It's like, okay, you know, the way this dialogue kind of fits together, right? Because in other conversation you have with Abbott, Robbie confesses, I'm tired of being a role model, which shows that he owns up that I am a role model. I'm like, this is the blueprint. This is the pattern. All you kids follow it. Mm-hmm. How fucked up is it to set a pattern and example that literally might get you killed or literally might have you burn out 15 years before you should in your medical career or have you jump off the roof of the hospital or whatever? Like it's like it's one thing to hear it from people you respect and your peers, but like for someone like Langdon, who is kind of like a protege shifting to peer to just show that, like how are these kids supposed to follow you, Robbie, if you're not even taking care of yourself? I thought that was a great point.
I know. I think it's intentional too that like Langdon's sort of the last conversation he has, I believe, before he talks to the baby Jane Doe, because I think he's maybe one of the most important people that needs to get that lesson through to him. But yeah, I think Duke mentioned that too, about like, what do you want to leave behind for these kids and how you're teaching the wrong lesson.
Teach them to run. Yeah.
Yeah. And we saw that all day where he was getting people to do things, but it was a little harsher. And, you know, I think you can argue whether that was a good or a bad thing, because he did it to Javadi too. And she was like terrified drilling into that person's brain or into their skull.
Sure.
I mean.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like in both these cases it worked out, but what if it didn't? It might have been interesting to explore like one of those cases actually going badly and how Robbie would have felt, but maybe next season.
Yeah, it's like I do think it's funny every time they consider like, you know, Langdon pulling on this guy's head and he just flops like a fish and flat lines, and it's like it'd be a completely different episode. But
yeah.
Speaking of drilling holes into people's head, I want to talk about Dr. Javadi, and Saint Whitaker giving her the idea that, hey, maybe you would be good in mental health, maybe even emergency psych.
Yeah. I don't know if I originally saw that for her. I don't know what exactly I thought she'd be doing.
It's kind of out of left field, except for McKay last episode chiding Robbie for yelling at her and says she's actually got this really like badass self-care, which is certainly mental health adjacent, right?
Yeah, and we saw her, they mainly set it up with Jackson, the schizophrenic patient, and how she was really she was the only one to really be able to get through to his sister when talking to her and trying to get her on board with how he needs support. You know, boomers don't always know how to talk about mental health the same way. You have to give them some grace.
Sure.
So they set it up there. It just felt a little, it's so funny because people always talk about how they don't want the Pitt to wrap everything up in a neat bow. And so they kind of give excuses to the other characters. And then, yeah, this was a character where I was like, oh, this does feel a little bit too neat bowy, just because I don't know if it's like a little early for her to decide that. I don't know when she really needs to. It just felt a little bit like, oh my God, I've had this realization and now I'm committing to it and I'm going to go tell everyone. I was like, oh, okay. So it felt like a little weird and clunky in terms of like how it was presented, but I don't really hate like the idea of her doing this. And of course it's going to add some friction with her parents, her mother specifically. So that'll have some good drama going forward.
She's wasting her talents.
Yeah.
Which is a weird, like, why? Because I'm taking care of the most mysterious organ in the human body, you know? I liked I also liked that Dr. Robbie, you know, like he's been kind of up and down with the way people, I can't imagine how good it must feel for someone like Robbie to say, I think you could do anything you put your mind to it.
Yeah, that was sweet. That was like very un-Robbie-like for this season, but I think that was needed.
I do wonder if like she'll have check, because she is so young. She's just 21 like next week, right? I'm thinking like as a emergency psych worker, if I'm a middle-aged man, let's say I've come in and my teenager is OD'd, or I have to have a social worker talk or whatever. a guy like Caleb that wheels in with a salt and pepper beard and he's in a wheelchair, like that's someone that I think a person would be like, okay, I'm going to hear this guy out when he starts talking about trauma and grief. Because he's been like Santos. Can you imagine Santos sitting down in that position and trying to like have even if she's knows her stuff and she's entirely sincere, like coming for someone that young with that little experience, with that much, I guess, kind of privilege she's had in life. I think that's going to be a challenge for her to like be able to really get real with people. And I would like to see the show kind of address what that looks like. But
yeah, I mean, even this whole time, like she looks so young. You know, you're always a little taken aback at how she is working with people, and I think that's why the bedside manner is harder for her. Like she just literally has not had as much life experience, and you have to deal with people being like, "What do you know?" Right? And I think you're right though that the psychiatry part is harder because people are going to be talking to you about like really heavy issues, right? Like, you know, people with like whatever you're dealing with or specializing in, but you know, people with PTSD and you know, maybe like assault victims, you know, just like really serious stuff. And yeah, they might not take her as seriously, and you know, you don't have as much life experience, but of course, maybe we're not giving her enough credit, like, you know, growing up in a hospital, or sorry, not growing up in a hospital, but, you know, working in a hospital like this, you're being exposed to all these people's stories and all this kind of trauma on the daily basis. So I think that kind of makes you grow up a little faster. But you're right, the perception from other people is going to be underestimated.
And it also, it might help her the other way with young people having mental illness. You know, if there's someone that's like, you know, got a social media, I don't know, like that could go both ways. Like if she gets well, it's like, oh my God, it's Dr. J. But like, yeah, I could see her being a lot more relatable to younger people, which, you know, they have a lot of mental health problems too. A lot of times your first mental health crisis happens when you're a young person. So
yeah, I have different thoughts on like doctors on TikTok, because now that I post on TikTok, I'm like, that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time, like way more than you would think for like one video a day. But like maybe they have assistants that do it for them in all the editing. They got some charting for them. This is all the charting time. Okay, Dr. Mohan. This is essentially Dr. Robbie tries to mentor her and it doesn't go exactly right. He ends up kind of mentoring himself as much as her. What is, especially since now that we know that she's not going to be around for next season and that was an intentional choice of the show, what perspective are you supposed to take away from this convo? I mean, my general takeaway from the scene was that, I mean, that's why I'm confused why they're writing her off, because it felt like they're setting them up as these mirrors of each other that I actually think would be a very interesting dynamic to explore in a third season, because, you know, he's talking about how he gave so much of his life to this place, he missed out on having a family, and I think that's why they had Mohan express earlier in the season that, you know, she feels like her time is ticking if she wanted to have kids and have her own family, and they keep saying she doesn't have a life and that's something she needs to do. So they're drawing these parallels between them, and I think he was trying to say like, hey, maybe it is too late for me to do that. Like, I don't think you really believe that that's going to happen for me when you say it's not too late, but it's not too late for you because you're younger than me, you still have time. So it felt encouraging in that one sense. I think things were still definitely rocky with them by the end of the conversation. I mean, she ends it by calling him a dick, but does say she wants him to come back in one piece. So yeah, it doesn't feel like a great place to leave the character, because again, it felt like they were setting something up more than having something come to an end. Right. Like it felt like we were kind of supposed to see her work through what she wants, work through, does she prioritize her personal life more? And then where does her relationship with her mother go? Because she wasn't taking her calls, but she was like, we're not talking anymore. And that felt like maybe we missed something as to like that she's cutting her off. Like that felt like more serious. And I did read that there was a lot of cut scenes. So that kind of tracks.
That's interesting. I guess there's supposed to be a lot more background with the ICE agents and some more Abbott conversations. It is interesting because especially you had something that like kind of made me sit up in my chair, which is like how they are maybe reflections of each other. And I thought it's interesting how there's antithesis there too, because like Robbie's abandoned by her mother. Mohan's problem is her mother's too involved with her life and overbearing. And so yeah, but then it's like, well, okay, it's not that interesting because it's going to go nowhere. But maybe she'll like take a break next year, and then the year after she'll be back, and we'll have clarity on this that she has made some changes. Maybe she is in Jerry. I don't know, but
yeah. It doesn't feel encouraging from the interviews, unfortunately, but I would have loved that. Like I said, I think this is all.
I don't get
really
involved
nice.
in a lot of the drama stuff behind the scenes. So is she kind of angry or confused?
No,
or hurt,
she hasn't said anything. Like, I don't think she can say anything. All we know is she put a statement that she dropped out of Paley Fest. And then, but a lot of people
I
did.
saw
like,
that.
Sean Hannity dropped out. So that's all we've heard from her. It was just, there was one interview question with Scott Gemmell where they were like, oh, so if she's like not working the shift, if she's not working on that day in season 3, could she be back? And he's like, I don't know, maybe, probably not. Like, it was really just kind of like, if the story brings us there. But like I said, I already think the story is bringing us there. So it's just kind of interesting that they don't think there's a story to tell, when I thought the finale kind of beautifully set up a story to tell. But yeah, I mean, for the record, I don't typically read a lot of interviews even. This was just really flooding my Twitter timeline. Like, this was really a hot topic of discussion. So I kind of couldn't miss it being chronically online a bit.
I do want to talk about another doctor, Dr. Whitaker.
Yes.
All season long, we've been hearing about the evil farmer's widow who might be using him, taking advantage of him being a little bit of a white knight and wanting to fix everything and help everybody. And his kind of like dismissal, like, oh, I'm just help. To me, they put this scene to tell us two things. One, that he is definitely fucking the farmer's widow. And two, Robbie maybe thinks he's got the right idea after he reflects about his no wife, no kids, no hockey pond, that here's a guy who knows what he wants. He wants to do suburban medicine, rural medicine. He's got a suburban, rural, like, Ready Start family that he is completely, like, he's literally, like, when she slid over to let him drive the truck, like that, like the ghost of her husband also slid over. and she looks like she's worship, like she loves this guy. Like, I don't know. I didn't feel bad about it, but definitely they're doing more than just pitching hay. What was your read on it?
Well, definitely that scene served Robbie. Like, that was there for him to look on wistfully and be like, wow, look at what I missed and what I should have had. It's kind of interesting, the shift on that storyline then, right? Because they were definitely presenting it as not really a good thing. Like, Santos was kind of concerned that he was being used in a way. You know, like, maybe
does that say more about Santos than it does the wit? Because she's like, someone said that she's the angriest person she's ever met, or she's so cynical. Like, I mean, I when she said it, I'm like, that actually makes sense. But yeah,
I think it made sense. But even Robbie kind of doing what she said when he talked to Whitaker, I feel like he wouldn't have done that if he really thought Santos was just being like vindictive. But they kind of just portray it differently in the finale, where now it's like kind of a good thing. And we see they have a nice little rapport. But I'm going to disagree.
It could be a good thing, right? Because let's talk about that her husband, speaking of his ghost, scooted over for. He's been in the ground less than 10 months because we know that he lingered in the ICU before he eventually died. Like, she's got a new kid. They got all this. There's like, this is a lot. This has like rebound, good for the moment, but maybe not built for long term, written all over it. And is that going to, like, if that does happen, what if Whitaker needs the break off, and how is she going to take it? What if she breaks it? How is he going to take it? Like, Whitaker's such a, I don't want to say innocent, because that's like demeaning him, but he's such a wholesome character that like every time you see something like the racist old lady fuck him over for $250 in lift, it's like, oh, how many of those cuts and slings and scapes is he going to get before he gets calloused up and he's not as sensitive to people? But from this point, like those are all just potential red flags, which doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It just means it's a red flag. There might be some danger here, but it looked pretty wholesome just from the 5 seconds I saw them together.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I thought with the trauma bonding, like, you know, the fact that they started hanging out probably out of guilt, right? You know, I think that's sometimes not a great way to start any sort of relationship. But that's the thing. I can't really tell if the show changed its mind on how we're presenting this, or if that's almost just Robbie, like, projecting onto it, and maybe when they follow up next season, it's a little different.
Yeah. They did throw that projection term around, which seemed like it was very apt with Robbie. He was, you know, using that as a defense left, right, and center in this episode.
Yeah. I'm going to disagree that they've slept together, though, because Whitaker seems like a sitcom character where he would just kind of like accidentally end up in a relationship and then not realize that he's ended up in like a long-term partnership. He'd be like, oh, wait, what did I do? And then you'd probably like propose to her on the same day that they hook up. Like, I don't know.
I thought her dewy eyes were a little bit more, we've already done the deed. But I will say that if I buy it from anyone who's been hanging out with this cute farmer's widow for like 10 months and ingratiating himself with their child and forking her hay and doing all that stuff, if there's one guy I'd believe hasn't, it'd be Whitaker. Right. It'd be Huckleberry.
I'm open to all interpretations, though.
I'm just looking at how she's glowing at this guy. I don't know. Get yourself a farmer's widow that looks at you the way Amy looks at Whitaker.
Oh my god.
All right, let's let Whitaker be funky. We'll see if his life blows up in 3 months. Dr. Mel King. Becca. Becca's all grown up. Becca's got a man. Yeah. Becca don't need you no more, Mel. Get a life.
Wow. She's like, she does not mince words. She's like, yeah, I'm over here with Adam. We're having a fun time. And guess what? We're watching Elf. We're watching Elf without you, which that's a dagger to the heart.
But it's oh man, I had so many feelings about this because on one hand, Becca deserves her independence. That seems like what the situation set up legally. And also, if I was a roommate with someone, let alone their sister, who's been responsible for my life the entire for I don't know, whenever they got orphaned, because it seems like that's what happened. We got that information last episode. I feel like it is polite. Like she was grasping for the right word, but yet polite. Like, wouldn't you let me know that I don't need to be home quick, that you're not going to be watching fireworks for me? Like I've gone through this. I've gone through this with my teenager. It's like, you don't have to ask my permission. You're 19. But also, if like every roommate I've ever had, if I'm going out, I'm like, hey, I'm going to hang out with a girl, I'm not going to be back, I say that because like presumably they care about me. And if I don't show up in the middle of the night, they're going to be like, where the hell is it? So it's like, yeah, like I think that Becca maybe need to learn that like, yeah, you don't owe Mel an explanation, but as long as you're still staying with her and living with her in some capacity, why is it a big secret? You know, can Mel make plans? Maybe.
I know, especially if you had plans to go watch the fireworks, like just tell her you can't go, but maybe those are some of the social skills that she still needs to develop, like doesn't realize
this is very true
how rude that is. You know, she kind of just sees it as like, hey, I'm going to do this other thing, and doesn't
it's think also
about it, right?
Funny, right? Because like Mel talked about how she hates watching Elf. She fucking hates watching Elf. She just does it because her sister loves it. Mm-hmm. And apparently Becca didn't really like watching fireworks. That was more of Mel's thing. And now she's found a person who wants to watch Elf because she wants to watch Elf. I think it's like, this is actually a very good thing. Mel just hasn't adjusted to it yet. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like this is really the first day that she's getting this rude awakening, right? Like she just found out she had the boyfriend, that she has this whole kind of romantic and social life without her.
Because she showed up with an STD, which asks questions, all kinds of other questions that I'm sure a big sister might want to ask her other sister about.
Just a UTI, not.
That's true. That's true. Oh, that's right. It's right. UTI. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just went ahead and gave her the clap or something.
Yeah. Well, safe sex was something I was concerned about, but it seems like she hopefully knows what to do.
She had health and social classes.
Right.
She learned a lot about that. Sex is great. So then she has this meeting out with Langdon where, they kind of buck each other up. And he apologizes for kind of being a dick to her earlier, and they're fine. They're solid. And then we have, I also like the system they use where the kids, I keep them called kids, the med students and residents, they're catching up and they're recognizably put in chunks of Dr. Javati was saying oh yeah, I presented with a 65-year-old nun who had chlamydia in her eye or whatever. And Santos is talking about the deaf woman who had trouble. It's you can see where in the day they're at. And I kept on thinking of Santos, God, that happened so long ago. You really are not catching up, gal.
Yeah. I know. I do love that. It's a little recap of the season. Wow, we've come so far.
Yeah. Oh, and it's also Mel had another bad day because as much as she dreaded his deposition, she boofed it up so bad that there's enough blood in the water that the opposing counsel sense that they want to bring her back and do it again. And her physical acting when she was doing the Marge Simpson and just shrinking it when she went I know they want to talk to. So good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love her on this show. But yeah, I mean, that was interesting because again, the whole season you're well, goddamn, they put a deposition on the 4th of July, which is pretty outside the realm of realism. So you're okay, what's going to happen from this? And then the resolution is oh, you got to go again. So I don't really know how that's going to affect next season. Is next season also going to be deposition day, or is there some adverse outcome from her second deposition? I don't know.
Surely they wouldn't wait 3 months to do a second round of depositions. But...
Yeah. But that's just an interesting way to end that, right? It just feels so intentional to do that. So
it seems like it's they're ending at phases of personal growth they're hinting at. These are things that Melissa needs to do to get to the next level. These are things Robbie needs to do to get to next. And then maybe that's a good way to tell the story so they can they get you moving that direction. And then you come back 3 months later and they're okay, this is did they get to the direction? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how you write a show like this. I'm like you. How the hell do you even block this out, come up with it? It's a good ending for Santos, I think. Because, as you said, Santos grabbed a scalpel, and the only reason she'd do that if she's going to hurt herself, has this really bad day, but at the end, she goes out to engage in scream therapy with a friend and coworker instead of hurting herself.
Yeah.
That feels like progress.
Yeah. And I said earlier, I was maybe something would end with her making a phone call to a therapist because Robbie was telling her to get therapy the whole season or to check in. But I think you're right. This is scream therapy. And so, you know what? That kind of reframes my thinking of her plot line a little bit more.
A lot of her problem is how much she pushes people away. And her and Mel probably had the least in common, but her kind of bringing them back. I don't know. I felt like it was good. It was good. It's the first kind of wholly positive thing I've seen from Santos since she diagnosed a ginger lady or whatever. I forget what she was taking.
Yeah. And that kind of friendship really rings true to me in real life. I feel like I'm always the Mel sometimes in those friendship dynamics, the more domineering personality with someone maybe that's a little more shy and then they bring you out of your shell. So I feel like I see that a lot. That feels really true to life.
Yeah, one of my best friendships is essentially opposite of me, and that's one of the reasons I deliberately man, this guy's so different from me. I work with him. I had to ask him out for lunch and just and we ended up being really close friends. Mm-hmm. And because you can learn things from each other. Hanging out with people just like you all the time is boring.
Yeah.
But what's her name? Isa Baronis, is that her?
Yes, that is
Santos's name.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you know anything about her, you probably know she's a talented singer because she works in singing to almost every role I've ever seen her in. I actually thought it was really hilarious how she was a terrible singer in this scene. Her and Mel are just literally screaming and, you know, wanting to kill Dave Coulier for what he did to Alanis Morissette, and it's the perfect after credit scene for this show.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a real karaoke scene, right? Like, you're kind of drunk.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you kind of don't want to sing good because then it feels like you're showing off. So you're kind of like intentionally, you know, going in the middle somewhere. But they did canonically show that she can sing, though, because of her lullaby.
To the baby Jane Doe, yeah.
So she is canonically also a beautiful singer, which is kind of funny.
Beautiful, and a belter, too. Like, she's the total package when it comes to voice.
Yeah, no, I've been seeing all her Broadway clips on TikTok lately.
I talked about the physical acting of Mel. I thought I saw a lot of Bryan Cranston, especially in his Hal from Malcolm in the Middle days when she was doing, especially like when Santos took out her hair tie and she gave her a couple of thrashes, but like you could tell it made Mel dizzy. She doesn't do that very often, and she kind of like when she comes up from the lash, she kind of like her head swims a bit and then she recovers. That's so awesome that she's thinking about all these things. God, that last 30 seconds gave me a lot of joy, I gotta say, Chris.
Yes, I loved it. I think that was such a fun idea, right? Like, they're like, you know, we always kind of stick to our thing. We have to stick to the hospital and the shift, but they were like, let's break out of it. Let's just do something fun. And I loved it.
Yeah. Malfeasance. Also, Santos is the queen of nicknames, man.
Exactly. And that's out of love. If she gives you like a nickname like that, it's a good thing.
Talked brief on McKay. McKay came into this season super horny and overworked, and she's leaving super horny and overworked. I was thinking that she might be able to get out and see that soccer player. Like, that might be one of the codas we see, is her just walking up to the art show. But nah, looks like she's choosing the BBB.
I know. Actually, I have to apologize to McKay, because when we're talking about maybe arcs that could have been stronger towards the end, we were talking about, you know, Mohan and Santos a little bit. But my God, McKay had like nothing this season. I mean,
yeah,
you know, to the point where I almost forgot about her. Right? I see her at the fireworks.
Right.
And I'm like, oh right, McKay.
Her dad showed up last season. She had Wormtongue show up last season. It was Red Letter Day. She can coast through a season.
I know. Yeah, like season 1, she probably had like a favorite storyline.
You're right. McKay might be the least serviced character. Like, Joy got more time, Ogilvy got more time, Whitaker, Santos. I can't think of anyone that got less screen time than maybe like Caleb, the social worker in a wheelchair.
Yeah, no, of the core cast for sure at the bottom.
Yeah. And then she also, I like the she definitively slams the bell and then Santos trashes it. That felt like a good way to like put a bookend on this season.
Loved that.
And then we have this very conflicted scene of the day shift celebrating America's birthday, and they have different thoughts about how Americans celebrate the freedom with explosions, and how it's already blown off one kid's hand today, and it also sounds a lot like gunfire, and some of these people might be from unstable regions where there actually is gunfire and mortar shells, and it just, it started with everybody kind of like, oh, fire, and then it ended with everybody being like, I guess, happy birthday, America. It felt of the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone looked really sort of, I don't know, wistful and contemplative and sort of sad, reminiscing on everything. I mean, I think the shot with like Perla and like Dana hugging her from behind felt, you know, very intentional.
Sure.
Of how like she might feel in this country right now. Yeah.
And they already hit it with the Jewish lady, the fact they made the one-to-one comparison about a person who's been through trauma and how that can trigger you. And it's like, man, who has more gunshot trauma than doctors in emergency rooms, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Chris, are you ready for the main event? We got Dr. Robbie Rabinovich squaring off against the madman, Nightcrawler, Oorah, Dr. John. Is it John? John Abbott? Jack Abbott?
Oh my God.
I like this because I think one of the things a lot of people are talking about nowadays is the male loneliness epidemic and how we're all terrible at talking about our emotions. We don't have close guy friends. We don't. I thought it was as good to show what a healthy version of that kind of male relationship can look like between two fairly damaged dudes. Like one is like, you know, like Abbott was one last season and maybe he's jumping off the roof. Robbie talks him down and now it's Abbott's turn.
Yeah.
I fucking love this scene. I thought it was so well written. It had so many different levels to it. What did you think?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I mean, I liked that Abbott really brought his own personal experiences in and was very vulnerable. Like, he's like, you know, I lost my leg, I lost my wife, but, you know, he's also not like comparing their trauma. He's just really bringing his own experiences to be like, hey, I can really relate. And, you know, you just got to look for the small pockets of joy in life. He said, like, life can be unbearable and heartbreaking, but it's also beautiful and hilarious. And so I like that he's being really soft and vulnerable with him in that way. That, like you said, I think a lot of, you know, male friendships specifically, people are not as forthcoming and willing to kind of bare their souls, you know?
There's a lot of tension diffused with humor. Like even in this very, you know, telling moment, like essentially Robbie ends their conversation with a joke, right? You know, it's like he made this point about, you got to find someone to help you dance through the darkness, you know, good therapist, good friend, somebody. And like Robbie's sitting there and he's like, did you just make that up? Like it's some out of Ocean's 11. I think that's literally out of Ocean, like what Brad Pitt pulls on George Clooney at some point. And, but that's the way guys do. Like it gets a little too heavy. So you joke, but it doesn't erase the thing that happened before. And it doesn't erase the fact that like, hey, I am a badass guy that you look up to and respect as an equal. And I'm telling you, I think you have a problem and I should know because I've lost my leg. I'm traumatized. I've done all this. And I run around and have people shoot at me for fun. I do want to know so much more about Dr. Abbott. Like, did his wife leave him or did she die? I think she died because I don't see a guy wearing a wedding ring for a woman who left him.
Yeah.
That's sad. That's weird.
I think he is a widower.
Which is worse. That's tragic.
Exactly. Like, 'cause like you said, he's already, you know, been overseas. He's dealing with PTSD, and then to deal with like a death in a more personal home situation,
right.
Not just.
That's what happened to Louis. Like his wife died in a car accident. Of course, she was pregnant at the time, but like Louis, who knows what Louis would have done if that hadn't. And that's just one of the things that's happened to Dr. Abbott.
I know. I really would like a night shift season, but then maybe they are too well adjusted, right? Like they had their cute little chant that they all do about
the night crawlers
being night crawlers,
the weirdest and wildest.
And I was like, I love that. Like you want to be part of that team, right? You're like, oh, look at that camaraderie. I will say, if they're coming back in 3 weeks or 3 months, or not in 3 months literally, but in 3 months showtime, I would watch the hell out of a season where Robbie's like working night shift with Abbott to kind of get his feet under them and just having them running night shift together. That would be so freaking cool. That would be fun. Yeah. Maybe Dr. Al, that's the other thing is like, I think Dr. Al-Hashimi might be onto something with having two attendings because that's double the drama. Just get another attending in there. Yeah. Man, it's just they can always be mad at each other and be fighting over diagnoses and yeah. Get another attending in there. Yeah, I think that's typical too. I mean, on ER, I feel like there's a lot of attendings on ER because like George Clooney was like a peds attending, you know, so they can definitely make things up. They could start doing that because we haven't met the peds attending. We've met the psych attending. We've met the surgical attending. We've met, I don't think have we met the day shifts, non-emergency or non-trauma emergency, because like I think Abbott is that guy. He's like the emergency room attending, and then Shin is the trauma emergency room attending. Okay. I don't think we've ever met that other side of, or maybe Day Chef doesn't have one because they have so many other doctors. Yeah, working like, upstairs. I think typically you would have a second person, so you know, it's very unusual for a I've read that like a most level 1 trauma centers at a city this big would have 3 to 4 attendings. Oh, wow. So, I didn't realize there would be that many. Yeah. But that's no fun. That's too many. That's too many cooks in the kitchen for a TV show. I thought Duke had a nice appropriate ending and like the conditional promise he made. Like
Robbie's so worried about this guy not taking care of himself, and he turns it around. It's like, all right, well, I'll get my shit done if you get your shit done, or at least come back alive.
Yeah.
There's a dead body shows up, and I of course, someone on Reddit pointed out that they've been showing this guy throughout the day. Like on the first episode, he was there with like a sweater on and a hat and a collared shirt. And then like in episode 5, he had taken his shirt and a coat off. And then like in episode 7, he had gotten down to just like the A-frame t-shirt. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is just comic relief. It's funny to say that a dead old man is comic relief, but that's exactly what he was in this episode.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I had mixed feelings on that because it is kind of sad that someone died there waiting all day, but then it is kind of treated like a Weekend at Bernie's thing. But as we've established, these people deal with death like all the time. But I don't know. I was like, that's kind of tragic, right? I don't know.
I wonder if he slipped through the cracks between like the charts going down and them getting the whiteboard set up. I wonder if and then he's one of those guys who's not the asshole who's always grabbing nurses and shaking them, be like, what am I? He's just like, they're gonna get to me. I'm just blocked up here. And then he fucking dies.
Yeah.
Sad.
Poor guy.
I did love Ellis and Shin both when the guy's like, is this dude dead? No. He's got a hyper narcolepsy or whatever.
No, like those two were fun together there.
I also thought, to go back to the Robbie Abbott, like mm-hmm. I thought that Abbott's onto something about like, instead of this helmetless motorcycle Jack Kerouac bullshit, why don't you go on a cruise, Robbie?
Yes.
Why don't you have some fun? Why don't you go to Disneyland? Why don't you go to an all expenses resort and just chill the fuck out?
Yeah. And I think that's why they're kind of saying to him that you just need to admit that you have a problem, because if you admitted that, then you would do more of like a self-care healing trip, right? Versus kind of going on this trip that's not going to be good for you. It's basically, yeah, it's a death wish, as he said, and it's because he's not admitting he has the problem. So that's what I liked. He was like, here's like a practical solution, which is admit you need help, and then you can go do something that's going to be actually good for you, but you still need a break.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because I got the idea that Robbie, especially in his last 2 episodes, has been looking for reasons to stay around. And like, you like throughout this episode, he's like, I got to talk to Robbie. I got to see Dana. I got to do this. I got to do this. He essentially checks off all those things one by one. And there's this last scene towards the end where he's like getting his Yeti cup and he's like looking around like, is there anything else I can do? And then he hears Baby Jane Doe cry. I'm trying not to lose my mind and go completely crazy in 2.5 Men territory, but like, what are the odds that Robbie just kinship adopts this baby and kickstarts his no wife, no hockey cabin, but he does have a kid now? Is that in the cards for him?
I can't tell. I mean, I think on any other show, I would say yes, but I can't tell how sentimental the Pitt is going to be in that regard. I think sometimes they like to really hold themselves to this like realistic standard where maybe that would be too sentimental, but I mean, it kind of fits with his arc, right? I mean, in everything he's been saying this episode.
Could you argue it's like getting a puppy at Christmas? Like maybe it's something that he needs to do, but like, is he ready for it right now? Or is this an impulse? Because like, you know what doesn't Band-Aid a mental health crisis?
A child.
A newborn baby.
Oh my God.
And having to be responsible for it. Like it's like everything we said about how dangerous it is what Huckleberry's doing here with the farmer's widow goes a million for Robbie adopting a 1-month-old infant.
Yeah.
But because I was like on our Discord, like cutting up and being like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if you had like a 2 men, a lady, and a little lady situation with like instead of a Whitaker moving out, what if everyone moves in with Dr. Robbie and his swinging bachelor pad?
Robbie Whitaker and Santos.
Yeah, it's like Full House, only
I know
with a lot less people who got Alanis Morissette in their feels. Yeah, I don't know. But there's just no way. I don't feel like there's any way that they'll do that. It's more of like, I think Robbie needed to parent his inner child. And the only way he could do that is with an actual child. Like, he just couldn't do it himself. But it's showing that he is that thing that the Dr. Abbott said about, that you still have loves ahead of you. You still have beautiful things to see. That's got what that brings him back.
Yeah. No, I think that's really the main purpose of Baby Jane Doe. I mean, I hope she finds a home, but I don't know if the show is really going to have him go the adoption route. And like, I don't really think this man is ready to like parent a little girl at this point in his life. I think he needs a little more time. But yeah, I think it was a nice way to kind of have him face what he needs to face at the end, and exactly, like, connect with his inner child, and what he needs to move on. I mean, the question is, like, is he still going to take the sabbatical? I mean, maybe he does, but he changes it and he does what Abbott says and just impromptu buys a cruise ticket. But
I will say that, like, because I thought when I heard kinship adoption, when they first mentioned it, that like maybe that's like not a full adoption. That's like a hardship adoption. Like, it's just so you can get into like emergency foster care, and like doctors and nurses were eligible because they're first responders. But then I looked it up. It's like, no, it's a no shit adoption. Because I'm like, oh, I could easily see Robbie saying, I got 3 months off. I kind of think Whitaker might burn my house down. You know what? I'm going to take it off, and I'm just going to play Mr. Mom for 3 months. And I'm going to help Dr. Al, and I'm going to help. But like, I don't know. Now that kinship is like a real deal adoption, I think that's less. But I'm with you. I hope he takes the time off and he goes on a cruise, and then get some therapy, and then maybe spend the last couple weeks on your bike ride if you really got to do that with your helmet on. But
I think that's what he needs.
I know. I felt really hopeful for Robbie for the first time in a long time since this season started. That like, and to your point about how repetitive the conversations were, they were, but I think it's important that he kept having them with different people. Like, if it was just Dana worrying him, he could write off, well, Dana, she's got her mom complex. I don't need that shit. If it was just Abbott, it'd be Abbott projecting. But like, even Robbie coming out and hitting him with the, like, you need help, man. Like, I really think that made a difference. And I don't know how you tell how hard it is to get a stubborn, hidebound, proud person like Robbie to get the help, especially when they're so smart and they know everything, other than to almost beat the viewer over the head with it. Because any other thing, it's like it's just like an 80s after school special where it's like, oh, we got to tell you, Robbie, you've got a problem. Oh, you really think I got a problem, guys? I don't got it. Oh, okay, I've admitted the problem. I'm going to get help. Everyone claps, credits roll. We see that character next year and he's fine. Like, yeah, the truth is messy. It's like an emergency cesarean section. It's not the nice, neat little thing that's not going to give you a swimsuit ruining scar. It's a brutal thing's going to rip you apart. And it's messy and gross. Not always fun to watch, but
yeah, absolutely. And I think you make a good point that, like, an intervention, it requires a lot of people. And I think especially in the finale, like, all of those conversations, definitely were essential because they all kind of gave him something different, and he really hadn't talked to Abbott and Langdon in this way. They've definitely not with Abbott. Ducking him. Yeah, so those kind of all needed to happen. Really, the only episode where I thought the writing was weaker, or that's where I started to feel the repetition, was episode 14. I just thought the writing was weaker on that, but like, every other time I was like, good. Like, every other time I think Robbie's interactions like were moving me, where I had an emotional reaction. It was just like that one episode, and as we talked about, I think it was just kind of a byproduct of just kind of needing to fill in some time towards the end. But I thought everything presented in this episode regarding like Robbie and his journey was really, really well done.
Yeah, and I'm on your side, guys. Like, I do like it. I'm glad they did it because it's not something you see done hardly at all. And if it's you're blazing a new trail, you're probably not going to do it perfectly. But I'm with you that I think they could have told the same story with about one less episode, and I think we'd had about 33% less grumbling among the fandom. And maybe, because I never can tell. It feels like it's I'd say maybe 15% of the fans felt like this season, maybe 20% of fans felt like the season was let down, and the finale cemented that. I always hate it. I always hate when I'm the one that doesn't like the finale that everyone else loves. That's a lonely place to be. I hate for any bald movers to be in that spot, but sometimes sometimes you got to do boring maintenance shit, to move a story forward.
Yeah.
But even having said that, and I think they could do the job better, I do think what we got like consistently this show, I was like, I don't think there's any other show, even like The Leftovers, which is another high water mark for making me weepy. I don't think I have had been this emotionally affected by a show in totality it's been since like The Leftovers or something like that. It was just almost every single, that thing with Roxy, the cancer hospital patient wrecked me. The thing with the old, going to the very beginning, the old lady who couldn't remember her husband had died.
Aww.
That shit wrecked me. The little girl dying. Was it this? This is the season where no, that was last season where the older sister saved her younger sister from drowning, but drowned herself.
Yeah, that was season 1. That was a tough one.
Yeah. That's why I said I saw these back to back, so a lot of stuff runs together.
Yeah.
It feels like a double hell shift, but I think they could do it better. But I also think they did a pretty damn good job. I mean, they improved some things. I thought. Did you feel like this season felt? And it's hard because I'm the choir that's being preached to. But do you think that this season was a little bit slicker of inserting the topics of the day? Like, I felt like in parts in season 1, it's almost like the actors paused and looked right at the camera and say, if you know someone who is not taking their minute, like it's like a public service announcement. And I felt like shit just happened. Like the ice thing, nobody made it. It just happened. It just happened, There wasn't a lot of discussion about, hey, this is a bad thing. It's just like it happened. People can't believe it, but then it happened and you move. I thought they were better at doing some of those societal messaging this season.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think overall it was better. Obviously, there's still a few moments where, they definitely got into that. Like, I think,
sure,
Robbie with having all the women raise their hand. I did not vibe with that scene. I thought that felt odd to me. Or like, there's a really good message about, Black women being like underdiagnosed with like endometriosis. And I was like, that's a great message, but it definitely had like people like repeating like stats out loud. And I was like, okay, guys, we need to chill with that. But yeah, I think on the whole, it was better. Yeah. I think it's kind of funny though, because I think there's this weird phenomenon where, I think just a show gets like too popular and then people are more nitpicky with the next season, even if it doesn't deserve it, right? Because I think a lot of the after school special stuff actually was worse in season 1, like you're saying, but I think people are actually pointing it out more in season 2. When, like you're saying, I actually think on the whole, it was probably an improvement. So I think that's like an interesting reaction. But also Twitter is like a small subset of like the people that actually watch this show. Like this is a show that has a very like large audience, and I think sometimes the discourse is arising only because there's very different types of people. There's the kind of like prestige TV watchers, which is like my category. Like I don't really watch a lot of procedurals or medical shows, but then as Casey Bloys put it, who's like the HBO CEO, he was like, they're really happy with the success of the Pitt because he's like, actually a large portion of the audience is more likely to be watching 90 Day Fiancé than they are to be watching Succession. Right. And so they're really happy
it's the doctor drama. Yeah, they like the doctor drama.
So it's like a double whammy that they can have an Emmy-winning show that's pulling in like these larger numbers and this different sort of audience that normally would not watch like a Succession-y type of show. So I think that's a pro, but obviously then it leads to like people watching the show in different ways, in different sort of like feedback. But and like looking for like the amount of people that were looking for Langdon to relapse in the last episode or two. It's like, oh, he stole Whitaker's badge and he's going up to check on the neck fash lady because I mean if that was like the cliffhanger of last, people would be like, oh, he's got Whitaker's badge and he's going to steal her medicine. Oh god. And it's like, it's not that show. Like, because I did, but it's like, this isn't a puzzle box. This isn't a
a whodunit. It's just a gripping story about real people dealing with real life.
Yeah.
And
Slice of life.
And heroic. Yeah. This is what it is really like to be at Level 1 Trauma Center in Anytown, USA. Do you have anything else you want to say about this episode, the season?
I think we covered most of what I wanted to cover. Yeah.
Felt like we talked around pretty good. Well, then it has been a good season. Thanks for being a co-host, stepping in for Jimbo here. Chris, tell people once more where they can find you, and I'll also have our producer put all these links into our show notes so that you can click and find Chris's Instagram and Instagram, TikTok, and other social medias.
Yes. Well, I actually just started an Instagram, so if I got some new followers to help me grow
that was
on there.
Deliberate. I was setting you up for the new promo.
That would be great.
Slick.
People are saying you should cross-post. But yeah, I'm primarily on TikTok, and that is Chris Cinema, CRIS Cinema. I do like TV recaps, usually weekly for a bigger show. So I did that for Pluribus. I did that for the Pitt. I think I'm going to be doing that for like Euphoria. Also, probably Margot's Got Money Troubles because I'm enjoying that. And I just started my Instagram, which is Chris Cinema TV. Chris Cinema was taken, so so I'm just kind of posting the same content on there, but if you're on Reels instead of TikTok.
It's cinema like the movie, not like the senator from Arizona too. I guess that's the other. It's just
make sure it's the C Cinema, not the S.
Yeah.
That's not my last name.
Chris Cinema.
That's not my last name.
But yeah, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. People should go check her out. I thought she had a lot of smart, funny things to say about Pluribus, and it was a real pleasure having you on. You'll notice I didn't get any feedback because we went super late, and I compiled a few, but it's getting late. We are coming back next week to have a No Holds Barred season 2 wrap up. Me and Jim, I'm going to find out what he thought about the finale, what he thought about the season, and we're going to be talking about your feedback. Sounds like there's a lot of things to discover about season 3. They've already know what the timeline is. They know some people are not coming back. I'm curious to see where people are going to take that and what the showrunners will say. We're reviewing all that. If you'd like to send us more feedback, it's easy to do so. thepit@baldmove.com is how you do it. If you'd like to support Bald Move and keep us making podcasts, we'd appreciate that. Support.baldmove.com. You get ad-free feeds. You get extra content like Lunch with Jim and Aaron and Off the Clock. Unique opportunity. We just did a live watch of a Neil. What is his name? Neil. It's not Neil Bortz. It's Neil Breen. Yeah. We just did a live watch of the Neil Breen Fateful Findings. Do you know who Neil Breen is, Chris?
I don't.
Are you familiar with like Tommy Wiseau in The Room?
Oh God, no.
Okay, did you know Ed Wood?
Oh yes.
Okay, legendarily bad. This guy is an architect and real estate agent in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. And apparently, as soon as he has a couple $100,000 to rub together, he hires a video crew and starts filming these opuses. And I watched it with the Bald Move community and Jim. It was a hoot. All this stuff and more awaits you at the Bald Move community. Support.baldmove.com. And we'll be back again next week. Jim will be back. He is again on assignment. He's actually not going to Smash Your Head Buffalo. He's in San Diego. He just went to the zoo yesterday. He's having a great time. He'll be back next week to wrap up the season. Don't forget, we're also got the For All Mankind. If you're looking for another good drama, a little less grounded, haha. Check out our For All Mankind podcast. Hi, Bob. Thanks again, Chris. Check out Chris Cinema, TikTok, and at the links that we posted in the show notes. We'll be back next week. Until then, I'm your host, Aaron.
And I'm Chris. Thanks for having me.
We'll be back next week. You're very welcome.